Would you believe that we used the same paneling for this hallway, this half wall, and this backsplash, and still had enough left over to keep our budget happy?
Today we're going to show you how we did it. How long ago did we make over this kitchen?
Hell if I know. Are you kidding me? Let me check my journal.
You mean you don't sit there? Dear diary, today we made over
6 years ago, I made over a kitchen. I was feeling melancholy that day. But fixing the kitchen made me feel less melancholy. Oh, you mean September 7th, 2025? Or?
We moved into the house in September of 2018. We did our bathroom first.
Right.
Then we did the kitchen. So it had to have been spring of 2019.
Yeah.
And then we did the pantry like a year later.
I don't think they're taking notes.
They are.
No.
Yeah.
They're not taking notes.
Totally,
They're
they
like,
are.
wait a minute, did they do that pantry first or second?
So when we first made over this pantry, we wanted it to be this long uniform look. Going down that wall, it just was basically a boring blank wall. So we definitely needed to add character to it. So I thought, well, let's just do some simple board and batten. And we did it really, really cheap. What were those strips or PVC?
PVC strips. Left the drywall in place. We didn't put up extra plywood or anything. We just put little vertical, wide apart.
Yeah.
That's the official measurement.
The thing that is timeless is just the old-fashioned wood paneling. It's been around for years and years and years and years, and it's just a classic design. I definitely wanted the real wood.
The real thing.
That's why we chose the wood paneling for this entire design, and we did want that to continue through the entire kitchen.
Now, we knew it was going to be potentially expensive, but Math Whiz over here was able to figure out how to take those long boards and go, well, if we cut it here, we'll have this much left over, and that will become the backsplash.
The budget was something that was extremely important that we stuck to. So it was crucial when planning this to make sure that the paneling, we could get the most out of the boards. Those boards were just the typical 8-foot long boards. I knew going into it, we were going to keep that header of the old board and batten. And so then we did the math and made sure that we could purchase those boards accordingly and utilize as much as we possibly could. For the half wall, we were able to get 3 cuts from one board, and that's how we figured, where those measurements were gonna be. But that pre-planning, doing that math going into it, it was really important that we made sure that we got all of that right. And that definitely helped us stay on budget.
That's a pro tip. If you can figure that out, I know for me, I'm like, hand me that 2x4, let me make my measurement and let me cut it. But then it's like, wait, why did I cut that one?
When I already had another
I already
scrap.
had one. It does help to think about those things, so good on you for
being cheap?
No, a good planner.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And cheap. So the first thing that had to go, we had to take down that old PVC paneling that we had used for the board and batten. Once we had that down and we were able to confidently move forward, but you were really good at putting the reins on me and stopping me because I'm just one that I want to dive right in and let's go, go, go. You said, let's sand the boards and pre-paint them first. So let's go into detail of why that's important.
Well, it's important for 2 reasons. One, when you buy a pre-primed product, sanding it will just remove any imperfection that's in the primer. It's not perfect. The priming is not perfect.
It's not always flat. And sometimes you have to kind of curve. I mean, woodworkers are kind of weird. We're always like looking down a board and we're making sure it's straight. That is a good point too, when you're selecting these pieces, to make sure you're getting pieces that are straight, that aren't cupped. And we do have one board on our wall that I missed.
Yeah.
It's a little cupped, and you see this straight, nice, flat wall, and then you just get one little hump, but only like at night when you've turned the light off and then the light shines into that hallway, you can really see that hump. So it's not bad most of the time, but you see it and you're like...
On a Tuesday when you're holding a cup of coffee and you've tilted your head 62 degrees.
You're like, oh. The next part that's very important to me is, since the boards fit together, you know, and there's a little space, I didn't want to be sticking a brush in there and painting every little edge once we got it up. So,
and then also, what if you miss a spot and now you've got this little white halo in there?
That'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. So pre-painting it was really important to make sure to hit that gap.
It was really easy too, because it was on a roller and you just flip the board up and then you just roll straight down that edge and then get into the cracks and everything. It was fine. It was easy, and then it worked out. So then when we hung the boards, it was already kind of painted for you. And if we had to touch up a few, but it definitely saved a lot of time in the long run.
So now it came time to install the boards. They were sanded, they were painted with one coat, ready to be installed. Let's talk about the installation process. We started with the right side of the pantry wall.
We have a central vac system, which is the best thing in the world.
Yes.
And there's a big receptacle in the wall, and it sticks way off. It's thicker than most plugs or light switches. We had to work around that. So
we took some scraps and we put them side by side, and we realized
it's going to
be an easy cut if we start it from that side, versus we were worried that we would have to notch out in the middle of a board, which that's difficult to do.
It is difficult. So we were able to notch just the edge, and then it fit right up, and we've got our receptacle in use. It's awesome. When you do any kind of tiling or wood paneling like this, you have to kind of determine what side you're going to start on and where you're going to end up, because something's going to have to get cut. You're never going to have a perfect width board. I guess it's happened, and you should celebrate if it does. In our case, luckily on our other side was a door right at a corner. So we knew that if we had to cut a little strip, you were never going to see it, because it basically disappears into that corner. That's how we chose it. So you have to just see what visually is going to look best for your situation.
The next step that we definitely recommend is don't cut all of the boards at once. Now that's my fault, because I think I started I took the measurement and I think I took it by the door, and I was like, oh, well, I'll just start cutting like 3 or 4 boards. Suddenly, like, oh no, these aren't going to work on this other end, because it went downhill, so those boards were shorter, so they weren't long enough at that end. It is important to cut each board for
the size. Wherever you're cutting from and measuring to, you just got to make sure you're making the same custom cuts for each one so that they all line up.
The other thing is we made sure to glue the back. So when you installed it, you glued and you nailed.
Glue and nailed.
Why did you do that?
I was afraid if I just glued it, it might pull off the wall, and I didn't want to deal with that. Plus, that they overlap, I knew I could hide a lot of nail holes. Down the wall, we took our stud finder and marked each stud with a piece of tape. Not all of these nails are going to go into a stud. Glue and nailing felt like the best option. That's right, to sort of suction it to the wall. The process was this: a little curly line of construction adhesive, stick it against the wall, hold it, let it set up just for a second, and then I would take my nail gun and I would shoot nails. But I heard a pro tip passed on to me was alternate the direction of the nail. Shoot them in at angles and then shoot it at another angle and then shoot it at an angle. And that grabs. So if you go through drywall straight on, it's a lot easier that it's just gonna pull straight out. But if you have a nail going in this way and a nail going in that way in drywall, it grabs it better. And boy, did it. I mean, it would just like pull it to the wall and then allow the glue to set as well.
Well, let me do one little aside here. So I had seen on social media someone say, oh, well, if you put a piece of painter's tape
where you're going to nail,
and then you can fill it in with wood filler, and then you take it off, and it's perfect.
That did not work for us.
Was it maybe that they used caulk instead of wood filler? That might be the case, but either way, we removed the tape and we still had to apply another layer of
So it was
the wood filler.
A wasted step for us.
It
We could
really
have just
was.
done it without the tape. So you could try it. Maybe let us know what we did wrong.
Since we did have to apply that, once you apply that wood filler, you do have to sand the top to keep it smooth. Now, one thing that you definitely want to do is after you sand that smooth, you want to maybe touch up with a little bit of paint before you give a second coat on those boards, simply because you've already removed, when you sand, a little bit of that paint. So you're taking the layer down, so you want to build that back up slightly, so that way once you do that second coat, it still looks uniform. And you can't point out where all of those nail holes are.
Good point. Another thing on the installation that's very important is to have a level. So each time you put, oh, that was so sweet. Yeah, he's so smart and dreamy. Is that what you were thinking? Yeah, I figured that. Every time you put a board vertical, just sit your level next to it and make sure it's somewhere within that bubble. Now, there's kind of a caveat here because each board, since they come together, has a specified gap, and not all of them are perfect. Unfortunately, these boards are not perfectly cut. They can be off a little bit. You can be closer at the top, wider at the bottom. Could be all kinds of things. We did a process of it's bubbly and it's somewhere in that line, and then we put the next one up. It was bubbly, but the line was off. So we would just adjust, because I'd rather the line look right all the way down
Then it be level.
than it be perfectly level. But mostly just look for that line and make sure that's each gap is the same, and that's a better look overall.
Well, and speaking of lines and gaps, when we got to the half wall and the backsplash, it was very important to me that when you looked across the room, you did not see staggering lines. I wanted it to look as if it was just one continuous board that was separated.
And you mean looking at this half wall, and then seeing the backsplash, and you didn't want to see the boards crossing. Oh, okay.
I wanted it to be one straight line, and that just would allow it to just flow and blend in together. Versus if there are staggering lines, it's not gonna look as visually appealing. So we started the same.
See, that's the details you pay designers bazillions of dollars for, that I was like,
But we started the wall, they were on the same wall, and we just started with the same fresh board. So that way it stayed the same.
Fresh boards?
Fresh boards!
I need a fresh board.
This one, rotten.
Not fresh. Get it out of here. Bring me fresh ones.
Do away with those unfresh boards. Another thing to address is the length of nail that you're going to use.
Oh yeah, I remember
This is really important because we found a surprise in our bathroom.
You're just taking a shower and you look down and there's a little bit of tile stuck down there, and you're like, what happened? And you look up, and where you put the little inset where we have our shampoo, a little chunk of tile was poked out.
And if you look closely, you see a little teeny tiny nail.
Oh, the other side of this wall is the wall. Yeah. And I really think the bathroom thing in our case is kind of a fluke.
Oops, yeah.
Maybe look on the other side just to see what's there so that you're not poking through your tile.
You can get the right kind of stud finder that will either read electrical.
Ours reads the electrical, because that's another good point. If you're using a really long nail and you puncture an electrical line, that's not going to be good in the middle of the wall. Make sure you locate all of those hazardous areas. You want to measure the board that you're nailing through, and then add your drywall. And then, especially if you want to go into a stud, you add another maybe quarter to half inch to that. That's how you can determine how long of a nail to get.
Yeah, those are long nails.
Those are long nails.
You got to do some fun, creative things with the table saw, because we had to cut around cabinets.
Oh man, there were so many detail cuts for the backsplash.
One that broke.
God bless America. That was just so brute and so dumb.
You did all that detail cut,
Oh, and the
and
last.
it broke.
Did we end up using it?
We still used it, yeah.
I'm like, using that
You were
thing.
like,
I'll just
we're
break another
surgically
one.
fixing this one.
Yeah, so we made that work. And you can't tell. Can't tell.
No. But you want to talk about the table saw? Okay.
I don't really want to. No. I'm always a little nervous around the table saw, but in this case, there were some really long cuts that I had to make, not all the way through the board. Normally you might use a jigsaw to make these cuts, but I didn't want it to be wavy at all. I decided I would do it on the table saw. Sometimes I could use the fence. Sometimes I didn't use the fence. I just wanted to pass it through, and I had to make these so long cuts, and then I would turn it and make another cut. If you're not comfortable with that, it's much safer to use a jigsaw, but I felt like I could do a pretty decent job with the table saw.
When we started getting to cutting the backsplash, I know you were all worried that we weren't going to have enough boards. And then again, this goes back to the importance of measuring. So we had saved every scrap that we could. And we thought, well, how are we going to do this? And so I was like, well, we're going to be able to get more use out of that one board. Okay, 18 3/4 is there.
Now, it could be a little less because of that piece of granite.
And that is 19 1/4. So one cut of this gives you two pieces.
And I don't necessarily have to cut. I mean, they can be staggered.
Because that granite will go right against it. And then whatever you cut from this.
Just don't see where you marked.
That's my head in the middle.
I see it.
The ruler would be much easier to read.
We did want a very cozy, old world type feel. So when it came time to put the outlets on, we did opt for black outlets. And we also went with a little bit of a vintage style. And instead of using the black screws that came with it, we used brass screws.
Found some cool little brass screws to help it pop off. We didn't want to look at our darker green wall now in backsplash and see pops of white color. Getting black at least helped it kind of blend into the wall, but we still wanted it to kind of pop a little. So those little details are pretty nice.
Ultimately, I would love to have brass plates, but that's just pricey. So the black is really doing the job for now. For the central vac, we did spray paint that. I do have a tutorial coming up on how we spray painted that to look as though this old plastic was now actually vintage brass. So there's a really cool way to do that. If this gave you inspiration on how to make over your kitchen without blowing the budget, hit that subscribe button because we do have more videos coming up. Next, we're going to be talking about the painting, how we installed peel and stick wallpaper for the very first time, as well as what we chose, the special, unique color for our cabinets. We'll give you all those details in the next video, so be sure to stick around because it's coming out very soon.